Now comes Lloyd Stewart Carpenter. I doubt you'll think of him as a total sweetie. Lloyd, welcome to the program.
Well, it's very nice to be here again, Art.
Good to have you. Now, this is a very serious topic. Pole shift is, to me, really scary because I think I know what would happen, or at least I have my vision of what would happen. I'd like to know what yours is, or actually what that of science is. What did the scientists say about the possibility?
Well, there are differing ideas concerning it. One of the things that's interesting to note is that there are no scientists that I know of respect that do not believe that the Earth will tip over on its axis. Of course, they're just saying to each other when, and they disagree when it will happen. It could be 1,000 years, or it could have happened already, and there are certain things that make people believe that it could happen sooner than later.
All right, so conventional scientific wisdom is that it's not a matter of if, but when.
Right.
Okay. How much do we know scientifically, Lloyd, about how many there may have been in the past?
There is evidence that the Earth has tipped over on its axis several times. There's two schools of thought. Some people believe that the first time that the poles shifted was like 600,000 years ago. There are other people like Peter Warlow, who wrote his book in the 1980s, The Reversing Earth, and he points out that it has happened every few thousand years. He points out that in the Bible, where it talks about the sun standing still in the sky, that what was really occurring was that the Earth was flipping over on its axis in a very slow method for a 24-hour period.
And the people on the Earth would observe the sun virtually standing still.
Exactly. And then some other people believe that, around 2850 BC, when King Tut was on the Earth, that the Earth tipped over on its axis right near that period, because his is the first tomb that shows it reversed from the other tombs, and then after that the other tombs are back to normal, so they think that it was a briefer shift because it was the Egyptian belief that you bury the pharaoh with his head pointing to the west so he could see his god, and for some reason, they don't know the reason, but Peter Warlow speculates that the reason is because the sun was setting in the east the time that King Tut was alive.
All right, well, there's some the reason for optimism in some of what you've said there, because obviously mankind did not become extinct at that point. So tell me, what is your belief regarding what the physical effects of a pole shift would be if it happened tomorrow?
Well, the biggest concern is that there will probably be a reversal of the magnetic fields at the same time. I'm more concerned about there being a reversal of the magnetic field than I am about a polar shift, because if the magnetic field reverses with it, it will affect everything electrical on Earth. Peter Warlow said that electrical things won't work anymore. Basically, we'll have 15% of the energy, and it'll slowly get back to its normal self, but everything, all the poles will be opposite. So everything we have electrical on this Earth won't necessarily work. Now, more modern naysayers of Peter Warlow say that it's far more serious than that, that actually car engines will catch on fire, flashlights will cease to work, plasma TVs will explode, airplanes will fall out of the sky, because if the electrical systems of everything on Earth is shortened, it will become dark, just as it says in the Quran and in the Bible, that when the Earth rolls up as a scroll, that it will be so dark people will be afraid to hover out, and there'll be no light in the sky for a long time.
I just got my plasmas. They were expensive. I don't want to see them explode.
Well, don't worry about that, Art, because there won't be money.
Yeah, I do get the picture. Okay, I guess I can understand that. Now, for our society, America, I mean, to some degree, the hell with everybody else, America is more dependent than any other nation on the face of the earth in electronic communication. I mean, we are virtually at this point basing our entire economy on it, Lloyd. So we'd be wiped. Now, from that point of view, I mean, the people living out in the jungle somewhere in a village, they'd probably go, but here in America, everything's electrical, everything.
You're right, but it's like the preacher says about the Bible. I didn't write the book. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. And what's happening here is that there are certain anomalies in our solar system and on our Earth that have got scientists startled, have got researchers busily writing down what's happening, and a lot of people wondering how quick it might happen.
Okay, well, I'm one of them, and that's my next question. In other words, what gives you some clue or some feeling, because you obviously have it, that it's more likely to happen sooner than later? What are the signs?
Well, I would say the one of the main signs is that two startling events. First, the sun's magnetic field has doubled in strength since 1963. That has never happened in recorded history, and scientists are going, what's going on with the sun?
Oh, wait a minute. Now that you just pulled that one out, and we need to examine that a little bit. I had not heard that. The sun's magnetic field has doubled in the last how long, please?
Since 1963, it has doubled in strength, according to Russian scientists that are very respected by American scientists, and all the other planets' magnetic field has also increased substantially except the Earth, and it has decreased.
Oh.
That's one thing. The other thing is when you and I were kids, we were always taught the Earth is not round perfectly. It's sort of like an egg.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I've got to go back. This is very serious. If you're really sure, I mean, you say Russian scientists. Well, a lot of things are printed in Pravda that turn out to be, frankly, BS.
It's fascinating.
Okay.
These are respected scientists that meet in world teams and announce to the world what's going on, and if they're disagreed with, they're laughed out, and if they're agreed with, they're studied.
How are they measuring the intensity of the magnetic field of the sun?
They have various ways of doing that, and they've always been able to do that. American scientists, European scientists, European Space Agency, they're very good at measuring solar flares and the magnetic field of the sun. It's so important to do that because the magnetic field of the sun shifts every 11 years.
That I'm well aware of.
Yeah, it shifted in 2001, and it will shift again in 2012, which is coincidentally the Mayan religion believed that the Earth would roll up as a scroll, and their calendar comes to an end in 2012.
I am aware.
It stops.
Yes, I'm aware. And so, either somebody got sick of writing new calendars, or, maybe they just said 2012. I mean, what the hell? None of us are going to be alive. Let's stop making calendars. This is stupid. Or
the Earth is 23.5 degrees off of its axis. In effect, the other planets are in line with the ecliptic of the sun, pole to pole to pole, right in line. But the Earth is 23.5 degrees tilted, unlike the other planets, and so it wobbles. There's something called the Chandler wobble,
which is discovered.
Yes. And startling news released just within the last 2 weeks. The Chandler wobble, for some reason, and that's got everybody really freaked out, stopped wobbling.
Holy crap!
No wobble, no more Chandler
you're
wobble.
Bringing me.
Maybe it'll wobble again. But
you're giving me headline news here. Are you really sure of all this?
No, I'm certain. One word has more emphasis than the other. I would look very silly. I'm doing a 13-city tour, 12 cities. They just added another city, talking to audiences all over the country about this. And I just did one a while ago, and there were scientific minds there. There were people that really knew their stuff.
Back away from the phone just a little bit. Now, you're telling me again the Chandler wobble has stopped.
Yep. You can Google it.
I imagine quite a few people are right now.
Well, I hope they do.
This is according to
several sources, actually. It's not a hard thing to find right now. This type of information, once it gets out, it ends up spreading, kind of like the same thing with the polar ice caps melting 30% in the last 50 years.
I happen to know that's a fact.
And 10% of the ice in the last decade on the Earth has melted. Snow caps, do you know that the North Pole at the very peak no longer has ice now?
Yes.
And so they're saying, and this ice shelf broke off of the South Pole, and it was the size of New Hampshire.
Yes.
If the South Pole melted completely, it would raise the ocean level by 600 feet.
That's correct, yes.
They don't think that's going to happen, but already the ocean level has increased. Global warming is causing danger with the methane that's on the ocean floor. And, you know, I care about the Pacific Ocean. I'm the guy who discovered the face on the Pacific Ocean floor.
Yes.
You know, that face tracing.
And you're right about the methane.
They're all volcanoes.
The methane is incredibly dangerous.
Very dangerous. And you know what I'm worried about? A new technique of oil drilling. And they are pounding sound waves, 24 guns at a time, at the ocean's floor. They did it off the coast of Australia 1 month before the tsunami, and it was decried in the Australian Assembly by the government. The dangers there, they felt it on land, and 1 month later we have that tsunami. And so one part of my lecture is, was the tsunami caused by man? And there is very strong evidence that this pounding, this super big guns they have bashing at the ocean floor is creating crevices down there. And the last time methane gas escaped, they want the methane. Cause
you realize there are people who would say nonsense. The Earth is incredibly strong, and we're like little ants, just making little tapping noises. And so how would you answer that?
I would answer that by saying that the Earth is an ecosystem that is sensitive. And if you're pounding sound waves at it, you know, you have a volcano that gives off. People 50 miles away feel an earthquake from it. We are all sensitive to what happens on this Earth with those kind of anomalies. And when the country of Australia makes an outcry because of this and pretty much blames the oil companies, and this is going on all over, methane gas, the last time it escaped wildly, caused the Ice Age. 90% of everybody in the world died. All the dinosaurs died. And the oil explorers that are out there right now are so afraid that they will not shoot the sound wave straight down. They've figured out a way to come in sideways with the hope that they won't be up there if there's a flashback of methane gas, because it's frozen on the ocean floor. If it melts,
yes, I've heard of this slant drilling that they're doing, and you're saying they're doing it in order to avoid the possibility of a blowback?
Absolutely. They all agree that it's a very dangerous, but the thing is, you see, it's so tempting. It's so cheap. I mean, gas could be 30 cents a gallon because there's 800,000 times more, and that's not a made-up big number. This is a proven number, 800,000 times more in quantity available methane on this planet, on the ocean's floor, than there is petroleum. But it's just as dirty as petroleum. It's not a clean gas at all.
Got it. All right.
Very plentiful.
What would the Earth be like? Can you describe our Earth after a polar reversal?
Yeah. You won't be able to call the local police. You won't be able to call your mom. Those poor people that were in that tragedy you were talking about earlier would not be able to call anybody because you couldn't use a phone.
Will you be alive?
If you were alive, you would probably be in a situation. See, a lot of people believe that what's going to make this happen is some kind of a catalyst, like the volcano at Yellowstone, which has raised 74 feet in the last 30 years, and one end of there, and about 17 feet in the last 10 years at another end. Yeah. So that so much gas is escaping from Yellowstone that the Science Channel ran a special last month, the title being When Yellowstone Erupts. And the last time Yellowstone erupted, and it erupts like clockwork every 600,000 years.
I saw it.
And it's 40,000 years late now.
That was one damn scary special.
Yes, it was. And the thing that is interesting about it is that the scientists there now are alarmed because for the first time since they can remember, animals are dying from the gases coming out of the ground. The bison fell over and are dying in certain parts of the park. If Yellowstone would give off, according to the Science Channel and so many other people, up to 3/4 of our nation would be covered in a black cloud of soot that has a glacious cutting nature that would cut up people's lungs. Very dangerous stuff, and that would cause weather climate change that would lower the temperatures by 16 degrees minimum. That would, again, cause the Earth to have just enough so that would be possible for the Earth to tip over on its axis from that event alone.
All right. I want to stop you right there and note that there have been two headlines given to us this half hour, both of which you're welcome to check out. You can think of them as crazy, or you can go find out for yourself. One, the sun's magnetic field has doubled Two, the Chandler wobble, and I'm sure many of you have heard of that, has stopped. If at the bottom of the day here, the end of the day, that Lloyd believes more strongly that this is about to occur from a scientific point of view, and he's laid a couple of big ones on us. The sun's magnetic field has doubled, and the Chandler wobble has stopped. Now, some say that it does stop every now and then. I was not aware of that. We'll ask about that in a moment. I know he also has some religious conviction, or at least I believe he does, that this is going to occur, and I wonder which is the most influential. We'll ask in a moment. Think, Gene, things are not changing. Matt Drudge tonight says that Phoenix now, Arizona, has gone 101 days without rain. That ties the all-time record for Phoenix. Northwest is getting drenched. The weather certainly is cattywampus. There's no question about that. Lloyd, let me ask you that. Now, there is a sort of a religious underpinning also to what you believe, isn't there?
Absolutely. The company that hired me to do this 13-city tour is called the Prophecy Club, and what they care about is what's called end times prophecy.
Right.
If people want to see my schedule, they can go to 777news.com. Is it okay if I say that, Art?
Yes.
That's where my itinerary is, because there's no reason to read off all the cities. I'm going to be in Stockton tomorrow night, and I am going to Phoenix next week, and Portland, and Detroit, and so many other cities.
Oh, by the time you get to Phoenix, buddy, it's going to be well into a record without rain, unless they have it twixt now and then, and I doubt it.
Right, and I try to cover the weather problem, too, as best I can at 777news.com, because people just don't go there just to see my itinerary. They want to know about my other stuff. But the religious part of it, the Prophecy Club, this is my sixth tour with them, and we have been very successful because what I try to do is put the science first, but I'd be fibbing if I didn't tell you that it's just as amazing to me. The Bible in the book of Isaiah says that the earth will roll and rock like a drunkard. In the book of Revelation, it says that it will roll up as a scroll, and that the north will become the south in effect. There are about a half a dozen places in the Quran that talk about the Bible.
That's enough for me. That's enough. That's enough. If the Bible and the Quran both speak of it, then, you know, I think it's reasonable to assume that
so does the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, Chinese religion discusses it. There is no major respected religion that does not have something about a polar shift in its history and a definite end times type prophecy of the earth rolling up as a scroll.
All right, sold on that score. Now, do you, inside yourself, Lloyd, do you give more weight to the religious aspect of it or what you've learned of the science?
Art, the only reason I was able to do over 500 radio and television shows about a face on the Pacific Ocean floor is because the science comes first. I believe that is very important. You lose respect. If you have an incredible idea, you surround yourself with respected people that are well known, and then you'll be listened to.
All right. Somebody wrote that the Chandler wobble is supposed to stop every now and then. Is that true?
Well, it does stop every now and then, but every now and then can mean like every several years, and it's been stopped for days now, and they keep saying it still hasn't moved, and why hasn't it moved? And in Texas, by the way, today,
yes,
a place there that had an entire lake is completely dry. There is the biggest drought that's ever hit Texas and Oklahoma right now. There are weather anomalies happening on this planet that are just amazing.
I can't argue that. It certainly is occurring. And is it a precursor to what's coming? Is it part of what's coming? Or is it a separate cycle? I think it really is. I do. I believe that. I think that enough things have happened. There's something else called J2. When you and I went to school, Art, we were taught that the Earth's not perfectly round. It's like a little bit like an egg, because the north and the south is a little bit more than the equator. What's happened is the equator has reached a point where it is actually
more in circumference, its great circle, than the poles by 27 miles. Two scientists have measured this, and they have made announcements concerning it. And
well, that's not too far off round.
Pardon me?
That's not too far off round, really.
Right, but it's just a very interesting thing that all of a sudden around the equator it's wider now than it was around the pole than it is around the poles, and that's only happened in the last since 1997 actually.
All right, well,
a very brief period.
All right, Lloyd, are you adding all of this up? I'm talking now about the weather changes. I'm talking about the poles melting. What we've seen, that's really frightening stuff, in my opinion, and the weather is really frightening.
Not to me. I live in California.
Not to you? Not to you? Why is it not frightening to you?
Because of the other part. You know, I care so much about the science, but I'm one of those people that believe that our lifespan, Billy Graham said that the lifespan of people will not change one iota with an all-out nuclear war. That an all-out nuclear war would not change the lifespan of anybody on Earth, because everybody in this generation is going to be dead as a doornail by the time the next generation's old.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And I realized that. And after that, I got millions of years ahead of me because of my belief system, so I'm fine. I don't really like Earth that much anyway. Everybody's pretty bad to each other. And
you have millions of years ahead of you because of your belief system. What is your belief system that tells you that?
I was on a show the other night, and I told the guy I said one of my favorite songs is A Million Years From Now. And he goes, I never heard that song. And I said, yeah, a million years from now, a million years from now, I'll be in my Father's house a million years from now.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing.
So religious
stuff.
Yeah.
But
I hope you're right.
In art, in times of difficulty, when you got something like that, and if you do it like I do, which is apologetically, which means prove it first. Don't just make up stuff and walk around with a lollipop in your mouth.
Well, all right, Lloyd. How do you prove that?
There's something called biblical apologetics, which means don't say it's true unless you've got something valid to back it up.
All right, back it up.
Well, certain prophecies have proven to be true that line up right in line with the Earth tipping over on its axis. Certain things had to occur first. One of the things that had to happen is the days have to be shortened. Now, that's never happened, but it happened right after the tsunami. For the first time in history, the rotation of the Earth changed just enough.
A very infinitesimal change,
but
yes.
It startled scientists because they changed those atomic clocks in a very regular fashion, and it's never been different. And they had to stop what they were doing and change the atomic clocks by as much as almost a second. And that's a lot of time when you're talking about that type of science.
It is true. It is true. All right. So you think all of this is...
That's a very important issue. And then also the Earth wobbling in a way that's totally different. The Chandler wobble is so minute. It took amazing measurements to even find it. It took a novice, a non-scientist, to discover the Chandler wobble, a man named Chandler, and then he was finally validated by the scientific community. They went, wow, how did he figure that out? Because it was so subtle. But the wobble that happened after the tsunami almost was like a drunkard rocking back and forth. I mean, it was a real wobble, and it was on the front page of the New York Times. And I haven't seen anything like that before.
How close to this do you think we are?
I think it's close enough so people ought to just take stock of themselves and say, how am I doing? You know, am I the kind of a person that I'm going to like myself for how I've lived my life? I'm not talking about just being good. I'm talking about, is my life a test like some of these people out there say it is, like everybody in the world that's religious? They say it's a test. If it's really a test, do I want to take the test? I like what the Islamics say. You know, it doesn't have anything about accepting Muhammad. It just has to do with a personal relationship with the Creator. I believe in that. I think they're right. And I'm a Christian, and I have the same belief.
All right. For those who believe that God helps those who help themselves.
No, I think in this situation,
but hear me out. Lloyd, hear me out. For those who believe that God helps those who help themselves, there are going to be safer places on earth to be if something like this occurs. Where are those, and how much safer?
Well, I would call this an equal opportunity cataclysm, but if you were trying to find a place that would be a bit safer, you don't want to be in California or in anywhere on the coast. I think probably the safest place in the United States of America to live would be probably northern Oklahoma, you would just probably just die from the drought.
In other words, right in the middle of the landmass.
Yes.
And even there, you say you would die of the drought.
Well, and, what the Bible says is that when it happens, when the earth tips over on its axis, that immediately a third of the earth will die. And then it says in the next season, right after that, another third of the earth will die from poisonous water, poisonous ash, and it's called wormwood in the Bible.
Yes.
And that a third of the earth then will survive, and they will find themselves on an earth with no more seas. There won't be any more facing the ocean floor. There's just going to be no ocean because it says there'll be no more seas, there'll be no more deserts. It'll be like the earth is a paradise, sort of like the Garden of Eden, with beautiful fresh water and wonderful vegetation. And I think that that's a nice thing to look forward to.
Well, I mean, if you discount a third of the Earth's population dying, perhaps, but, there is that aspect of the event.
Well, almost everybody in the whole wide world, from the beginning of time, who has ever been alive, is dead.
Yeah, I've got that.
And so, big deal. I mean, basically, I have the belief system that everybody on Earth that's born is born dead. I mean, they're born dead because of, the curse on the earth. The old story, the Bible story and stuff like that. Well, the only way they get out of it is to get uncursed. And I believe that's true.
Meaning to be dead. I'm sure that's a great comfort to you, Lloyd. There's no question about it. I can hear it in your voice that you believe it thoroughly, and it's a great comfort. For many millions of people listening to this, it's not. I mean, you've got to understand there are many agnostics. There are many people who simply don't believe. As a matter of fact, an awful lot of scientists and doctors and
absolutely
people like that I interview, when you push them right to the wall, Lloyd, they don't believe. And
they shouldn't be picked on because I think that they're sincere.
They are.
And I think that
and something like this scares the hell out of them. It scares the hell out of them. Not you, because you're going to the great reward, and you firmly believe that, and that's your faith, and you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Not everybody feels that way.
Well, also, a lot of people that are in that agnostic and that kind of thing, they're that way because they haven't seen any proof. But you'd be surprised how many people, after, checking out my discovery of those images on the ocean, look at it and go, this has to be deliberate by some kind of higher power, and who have their scientific mind has said. As a matter of fact, one gentleman who is an expert in constitutional law and an atheist wrote a letter, and he said that he gave up on that crazy Bible years ago, but after reading my book, The Amazing Mystery of the Great Face on the Pacific Ocean Floor, that he's going to go back and take a look at that book a second time because obviously there's something he missed. That's the people I'm talking to.
Yeah, let's get a quick summary of The Face on the Ocean Floor. A lot of people may not have heard it when you originally aired it.
They can see it by going to 777 News. I've made all the images free, available for free.
All right,
and then get my book and a video on a special for Art Bell's people who want to look at it for $35 plus $5 shipping and handling. But the images are free. They can see the huge face, covers half of our planet, crystal clear eyeball, longitude 7, latitude 77 at his mouth. When the Los Angeles Times interviewed me, NBC News interviewed me about this, they asked what that meant. I told them that the number 7 in the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad, every great religion in the world is the number of God. So they printed that big headline, Lloyd Carpenter Sees the Face of God. And I made speeches throughout the 13 western states for 6 years while I was in college, went on to win the national championships because of this. I found that our planet has 5 humongous images. The face on the Pacific Ocean floor is half of our planet. It's the entire Pacific Ocean. And doctors, medical doctors, have seen that eyeball is anatomically correct. They see that their teeth, you can see inside of his mouth when it's closed. You can see the pineal body. It is one of the most startling, shocking discoveries. I did so many shows. I got burnt out 2 years ago and stopped doing radio and TV altogether until this new topic came up.
Lloyd, is it your position that our Creator put those faces there?
Well, I learned it from a rabbi. He told me the very first thing ever mentioned in the Bible, I didn't know it. He said, was this, that in the beginning God put his face on the bottom of the ocean. I said, I never heard of such a thing. He says, yeah, that word is, the word panim, and it means God's human appearing face. So it's always been a belief that the most important biblical myth, if you will, is that God put his face on the ocean floor. And the last great promise in the Bible says right before the world comes to an end that all humanity will see the face of God. So I'm fortunate enough to have people that endorse me from various religious faiths, because I don't talk down on any religion. I appreciate anybody who believes whatever they believe. Mm-hmm. And, I know how I'm going to get there, and I think God's a lot more forgiving and understanding than anybody I know, me or, whatever. So
again, bottom line, you're saying, yes, the Creator
absolutely
put His face on the bottom of the ocean for us.
Not only that, you got the Jesus King in the Middle East bending down with a nail going through his wrist in the same location as the Shroud of Turin, right there at the Suez Canal. And I have a big blow-up of that coming in close at 777news.com. They can see the demon on the South Atlantic Ocean floor, the entire South Atlantic, 666 at his mouth, longitude 60, latitude 66. 4 images covering 70% of our planet, and then the entire Middle East, all of it, that king kneeling in prayer. And everybody's curious about the Great Pyramid. At the very center of his praying hands is the Great Pyramid of Giza, which E. Wallace Budge, a curator for the British Museum, said should be pronounced not Giza, but Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we live in a wild world, don't we, Art?
We do indeed. We do indeed. And, certainly there are certain things. I'm kind of a skeptic, Lloyd. Really, I am.
Me too. I'm a member of Skeptics International.
But I'm also not blind. And I can see clearly what's going on in our world right now. And it is very, very disturbing. And it does seem like it's adding up to something imminent. And you think that something might be a magnetic or pole reversal?
There's so many different, no, not so many, but there's about 5 or 6 different things that could cause it, that I don't know what the spark will be, what the catalyst will be, but the world is already teetering, and scientists completely agree on that. And all it would take is a Yellowstone event, an ocean floor event. Right now, in that ring of fire, which is the tracing of the face on the Pacific Ocean floor, has heated up so much, especially off the coast of Oregon, where I'm going to be next week, and Washington,
yes,
that scientists are saying, this is strange. Mount St. Helens looks like it did in 1980. I have 500 slides that I show during my presentation, which, verifies these facts, the names of the scientists, the pictures close up, that kind of stuff. And tonight we had such a good time because people just going, wow, this is like amazing stuff. But I don't want to live in a boring world. I'm glad that we got something interesting to talk about. I don't want to just stay home and watch Laverne and Shirley.
No, it's not boring. And incidentally, I did see the Discovery special you were talking about.
Wasn't that something?
On Yellowstone. Really, truly frightening stuff. I mean, they drew out the scenario very carefully of how it would happen, the entire region that would be affected, and it's scary stuff. My book's also on Amazon. If people ask for the Face book or the Face on the Ocean book, I always forget to mention them, and Amazon.
I wanted to get that out there. That kind of blew my mind when I saw that, and the other one was
Amazon has everything. Let's see, the book is The Amazing Mystery of the Great Face on the Pacific Ocean Floor, right?
Right.
And
Amazon.com or 777 News.
Okay.
And they get a video, too. I got one called Scientific Proof of the Deliberate Supernatural. They get the two together for $35. But I don't care. They can go there and just look at the pictures.
All right.